This video is not intended for children. Viewer discretion is advised.
If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing this morning, guys? How is it going, man? I had an absolute blast last night playing the new Final Fantasy remake. I cannot wait to play some more today. I'm probably going to play twice today. I'm going to play later this afternoon, and I'm going to play tonight. Guys, how's everybody doing? Day Bob, the Guardians. Loki's Guardians are here. Day Bob, Lori Roberts, Lady Mist, Adiga Outlaw. Those are my guardians in chat this morning. Thank you guys so very much for being here today. Guys, thank you. My Valkyries are here. Purple Lady, Samantha Joe, welcome, guys. Man, Robert Pearson, good morning. Jedi Bill 797, good morning. Mark the Infinitely Tired is here, guys, and he is infinitely tired. Kathia Star, yes, you did get to see an intro, 2 intros. So I got both of them up there. I got the Vincent and Dave Bob one up, and I got the Loki's Mornings of Mischief up. Saucy Wench, good morning. Good morning, RR. How is everybody doing today? Guys, welcome. What's his face? Mick Whatever. Hail, Lady Mist. Yes, one of my guardians, Lady Mist, is here. Guys, Sit Room, Josh and Rebecca, Momini. Do. Oh, guys, hello. Captain Trek, hail, brother. Hail. Guys, so many wonderful people in here. The usual suspects are here. The usual suspects. Oh, guys, how is it going this morning? Man, I'm looking to see, make sure I didn't miss anybody. Dave G Sound, good morning. Good morning, Dave G Sound. Captain Trek, I think I said Captain Trek already, but I'm not sure, so I'll say it anyway. Good morning, Captain Trek. Hail, brother. Hail, brother. How's everybody doing this morning? If I missed you, throw me out a shout. I will catch you. So tonight or today, I'm saying tonight. Do you hear that? All because of last night. I'm saying tonight instead of this morning. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff this morning. Oh, guys. We are going to talk about so much stuff this morning. We got a great show planned. I have a wonderful guest. I would like to introduce you to him. Number one sci-fi fan, or number one sci-fi. Oh, my Lord. Not fan, just number one sci-fi. Hail, brother. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm tongue-tied, apparently. I'm saying tonight. I'm saying fan at the end of your name. I'm tongue-tied this morning.
I think you had a brain fart there, you know.
Yeah, I think I've come down with a mysterious case of word salad. Oh, man, guys. So I have a whole new setup here. I got a new screen over to the right. I've got the chat rolling up and down, and it's in like portrait mode, which is really weird. It's a Hewlett-Packard screen, and it's got what's called portrait mode. So you can turn it long ways, and it'll go top to bottom that way. So I've got like a whole list of chat just to the right of me, so I can see y'all's chat for games. Man, when we're playing games, that way I don't have to constantly look at my phone. I can just look right over at the right screen and see your guys' chat, and it's long. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. We rearranged last night and set new stuff up, and it looks different. It's different in here now. So, brother, we were talking great female characters and great female leads, kind of like Ripley in Aliens and Sarah Connor in Terminator. We were talking Alias, dude. You brought up Alias. Tell us about Alias for anybody out there who doesn't know about Alias.
Okay. Alias was a series created by none other than J.J. Abrams. It aired on ABC for 5 seasons. Season 1 was in 2001, 2002. It starred, obviously, Jennifer Garner as Sydney Barstow. But it had a bunch of other characters, just scrolling through the characters that you do not realize that are JJ characters or actors that he cast in other things, like Greg Grunberg is obviously cast in a bunch of his other stuff, including the Star Wars sequel trilogy and even Star Trek. And then it had Bradley Cooper, who is obviously way more famous now. It had Victor Garber as Sydney's father. It had Lena Olin as a Russian spy and also the mother of Sydney. And then it had some other famous people in it as well, including Angela Bassett as a CIA director. And basically, Alias was a show where Sydney, Jennifer Garner's character, would disguise herself for various missions. She worked for an agency, I guess, similar to the CIA, basically. And it's in a way similar to Mission Impossible, where she would blend into whatever the mission was and, just do various missions for the CIA type of force. And it only got kind of wonky towards the end when they started introducing this red box type of thing, which JJ has a fascination with red for some crazy reason.
Oh, he does, doesn't he? And real quick, Jess Reed says he loves the Baby Yoda icon that you've got, number one sci-fi.
Yeah.
He loves the Yoda icon.
Yeah, I mean, obviously The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars show that returns Star Wars back to what I remember it used to be in the original series, basically.
It does.
Original trilogy, I should say.
And Robert Pearson says, don't forget that Quentin Tarantino was an Alias as well.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you got a bunch of famous people in Alias that you did not realize were in Alias. And to me, it's a better series than the Lost series. Lost got lost for better lack of terms.
What's funny how with JJ that seems to happen. Things just go tits up.
Which is another JJ series, which was Lost, which used to be great, but then it got really, again, wonky for a JJ series. And I mean, but yeah, I mean, I like, the Jennifer Garner character, how she, was again a kick-ass female, basically, who got the job done and everything. And
did James Cameron produce that?
Let's see. He might have produced some of Alias. Let's see. Trying to see. I mean, it's such a long time. But again, Bad Robot was a thing way back then. Said the executive producers, besides J.J. Abrams, were, again, Kurtzman, who we know, and Orsi, who we know, Jesse Alexander. The producers that are listed, I mean, Jennifer Garner is one of the producers, but it says Sarah Kaplan, Robert M. Williams Jr., Monica Breen. So I don't see anything about James Cameron producing, but he might have done like an episode or two. And I guess I'd have to click through each season to
Yeah, don't. Let's not do that. Let's talk about the cast real quick because you've got some really good people in here. You of course have Jennifer Garner. You have Victor Garber. I really liked him in the first couple of seasons of The Flash. He was a really good guy. You've got Bradley Cooper. What can you say? That it's Bradley Cooper.
Yes.
You've got Ron
Yeah,
Rifkin.
before he was famous.
Yeah, before he was famous. You've got Ron Rifkin in it. You've got Greg Grunberg. For anybody that doesn't know who Greg Grunberg is, you would know him if you saw him. If you saw him, he's one of those people that you're like, who? And then you see him and you're like, oh man, he was on Heroes and he was in the new Star Wars and he's been in a bunch of stuff. You've got David Anders. He's another one of those guys. You're like, who's that? But once you see him, you're like, oh man, I like him. Terry O'Quinn. I'm a huge Terry O'Quinn fan. You know, he's like TV icon. Let's see, you've got Kurt Fuller. And if anybody doesn't know who Kurt Fuller is, think the real sleazy guy on Wayne's World. David Carradine, you know, I am Kane from Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Jonathan Banks, he plays Mike in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Great guy. Erica Bari was in Stargate. You know, he was in the Stargate movie. He was in the Stargate series. Great guy. Cliff D. Young. I mean, the names just go on, man. The names of the people in the show just go on and on and on. A wonderful cast. Great job casting.
Oh yeah, and yeah, Quentin Tarantino was in 2 episodes at least in the first season of Alias.
Somebody was a Jag fan.
Oh yeah,
Somebody was a Jag fan.
Oh yeah, I remember Jag. That was an awesome show. The one lady, obviously, you know, the Marine was
Mac, Colonel McKenzie. Yeah. Dude, growing up in a military family, that Jag was really big for me because there's that scene in the opening where Harm's dad has him in the jet. Dude, that was me. That was me. That was my dad sitting there pointing stuff out on the control board with me sitting in the plane holding the stick like, yeah. Dude, I've got a picture of that. I have a picture of that, me sitting in the plane holding that stick and him like pointing. But just like that picture, dude, I can't watch that show without seeing that and just being like, dude, that was me as a little kid.
Yeah.
Such a great show. So back to Alias. So Jennifer Garner's like a master of disguise. She changes who she is.
Yes. Yeah, she changes for, I guess, whatever the particular mission has her doing. And she, yeah, obviously is a, you know, spy and knows the martial arts and all this kind of. So she was Black Widow in a way before Black Widow, you know?
Yeah.
Because she had the red hair like Black Widow has had. She had, and she kicked ass basically and stuff like that, you know?
So how does Jennifer Garner play this character? I mean, is she
Well, if you remember the bomb of a movie that she was in, Elektra, unfortunately.
Yeah. See, I was a big Daredevil fan. I always liked Daredevil and kicking ass in Hell's Kitchen before the series ever came out. I was a big Daredevil fan. I always liked the idea of the way he could see, almost like it was echolocation. So yeah, dude, I watched the original Daredevil movie with what's his name, Ben Affleck, and I watched the Elektra movie because as soon as I heard that Jennifer Garner back as Elektra, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but oh man, well that was a train wreck from
yeah,
unreal proportions, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, in Alias, I mean, she also obviously uses her brains a lot to get out of messy situations, which is what every spy type of show has you do anyway. Is not only do you have to be able to fight your way out of something, you got to think. You're almost like a MacGyver type of character, but not quite MacGyver how he was, you know.
Nice, nice. So speaking of like something like MacGyver, we were also talking Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
And
the original Mission Impossible to me it will never be beaten as far as how great it was. I mean, you had Leonard Nimoy for crying out loud in there. You had Martin Landau and Barbara Bain. You had obviously Peter Graves as the main MIA agent. Or so yeah, it can never. And even though these Tom Cruise movies are okay for the most part, I mean, you cannot. I did not like the first Mission Impossible movie where they made Peter Graves' character go bad. That to me was stupid.
no, and we were talking about that. That's something that we both brought up almost at the same time. Was there was this thing in Hollywood in the 80s and the 90s where they make a movie out of a series. They make a movie out of something we all used to love, and they flip the script on people. And Jim Phelps, guys, Jim Phelps is in that first movie, and this is my biggest problem with the original Mission Impossible, is that you've got Jim Phelps betraying and killing his entire IMF team, except for his wife. He didn't realize that he didn't kill Ethan. He thought he did. He thought he was going to blame it on Ethan, and Ethan was going to get taken in, and they point the finger at him. But you've got it where he does all this for like $1 million. Guys, he had $500 million in gold in one of the episodes of the series. He had a truckload of gold. They melted this gold in this room because they couldn't get the gold out of the room. They melted it and used the drainage system in the room to move the gold out of the room in liquid form and recast it into bars, and they put it on this truck and hauled it away. If Jim Phelps wanted to betray his team for money, if that's all he ever cared about, he would have done it then for $500 million in gold. He wouldn't have waited to make a deal with somebody for $1 million to kill his whole team and sell the knock list. He had plenty of opportunity before that to get a boatload of cash, and he never did it. And they had that ism in Hollywood, that trope. You're the one who said it's a trope in Hollywood, where they had to turn the good guys bad or something along those lines when they made a movie like that.
Right. And the other thing is, the other common trope during the 80s was your evil twin trope, which Knight Rider with Michael Knight and Garth Knight had specifically.
Yeah, Kit versus Goliath. Kit, man, you're taking me back. Kit versus Goliath, Garth and Michael Knight. And of course, Garth is the son of what was Howard Knight? Was it Howard Knight? Ah, man, names.
I think it's Milton Knight was his name.
Yeah, Milton. It is Milton. Milton Knight versus
Wilton, I should say. Wilton.
Wilton Knight. His real son is Garth. And because his real son is evil and gets locked up in this African prison, when Michael undergoes face surgery, they make him look like his son. Now, originally, I'm gonna have to look this up now. He tells, Knight Rider cast, original Knight Rider, not stupid remake.
Yeah.
tells Devin tells Wilton, he goes, he looks a lot like you when you were younger. But it's actually, you find out actually later that it's like there's an evil Michael out there named Garth, and he's the original son of Wilton Knight. And they use the coating that's on Kit to coat like the battering ram of that semi.
Yeah. And of course, they had an evil Kit, which was Carr.
Yep. And Carr was voiced by, what's his name? The guy who does the voice for Optimus Prime in Transformers. Oh, I can never remember his name, and he's one of my favorite voice actors of all time. Peter Cullen. Oh, Peter Cullen does the voice of Carr, guys. If you don't know that, go back and watch it. I should have gold brick when I heard it. I am Carr. I am the Carr of the future. I am Carr. I am the Carr of the future. Oh man, Peter Cullen. Yeah, everybody's throwing it in there now. Peter Cullen. I know. How could I forget that? Peter Cullen. I can remember that he did the voice for Carr, but I can't remember his damn name.
Yes.
And that was like a thing back in the day too. That was another trope. Everybody had to have an evil twin.
Yes, your evil doppelganger.
Yeah. Yes, your evil doppelganger. Indeed, your evil doppelganger. Kit versus Carr.
Yeah.
Jeff Franklin.
Which
Good
was in
movie.
season 3, was Kit versus Carr, by the way.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to rewatch those. I've got the set sitting in my bookshelf, and I don't think I've ever opened it. But I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch those. Man, so many shows.
Oh yeah. I mean, the 80s was, yeah, a bunch of great shows. You know, obviously A-Team was another great show during the 80s, because who could forget the Van and then BA and Baracus and everybody else in that show, from Hannibal, the Animal Lecter, to
Yes.
to Face, being by Dirk Benedict, of course, was Face in the original versus Bradley Cooper, coincidentally, in the movie.
Well, they're both in that movie. They're both in that. They what's his name makes a surprise appearance. I think when they're in that prison, and he stops and looks at Bradley Cooper, and Bradley Cooper stops and looks at him, and they're like, and then they keep going, like, you know, they're the same person, and they're like,
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
A lot of people don't like that movie. I liked that movie. I really did. I thought they did a good job. I thought
Liam Neeson as Hannibal was perfectly cast. Bradley Cooper as Face was perfectly cast. Now Jessica Biel was, you know, I don't know if I liked her character or not. You know,
I liked the guy who played Murdoch.
Murdoch, yeah.
Oh, dude, I liked him. I liked when he's in the helicopter and he's got the fake British accent going. He's like, "We go code, chaps." Oh, dude, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was laughing my ass off when they were in that helicopter and BA screaming like a little girl. Oh man, I was like, so that's why he hates flying. That's why they gotta knock him out if they fly anywhere. Is Hannibal or Murdoch scared the shit out of him.
But yeah, obviously it's Dwight Schultz in the original, who was Barkley in TNG, you know.
Yeah, Barkley and TNG. Jess Reed throws something out that is so true. The evil twin always has a mustache.
Yes, and that's what Garth had.
Yep.
Played by David Hasselhoff. But
and Kathia Starr says an eye patch. Don't forget the eye patch.
Yes.
That's the soap opera thing right there. You know, when they have the evil twin in the soap opera, the evil twin always has to have an eye patch. Eye patch and a limp. Mustache, eye patch, and a limp. Oh, broccoli. Commander Broccoli.
Yeah.
So we have talked 80s, we have talked TV, we have talked Alias. What do you think? I want to bring this up because we were talking about strong female characters. They've done that so well in the past. Why are they tripping over their own feet now? If that's a question I could have answered out of Hollywood, that is the first one I would ask, because
nowadays they make a badass female character, but they make her way too powerful, way too much of a Mary Sue, where she's basically perfect, which is Ray, for instance. And yeah, and that's the main thing I hated about the sequel trilogy. They should have brought in more of the EU. I would have loved to see Mara Jade, which to me is a way better character than Ray ever was.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I loved Mara Jade in the books.
So, yeah, Hollywood just wants females to be almost perfect, which is, especially if they're an action type character, that has to kick ass nowadays. They cannot have any faults, hardly,
Yeah, and that was one thing I was talking about this just the other night, was if one of the things I wish they would have done, because they had Ray just come right out of the gate and kick the crap out of Kylo Ren. And I thought that was just that was so wrong that they did that. If Kylo Ren had just almost killed Ray, I mean, beat her to the point where he almost killed her, and she came back and beat him, I honestly believe that she would have garnered a lot more respect, and a lot more, the fan base would have been more willing to jump up and cheer for that, because she earned it. I mean, how do you get to the point where you're just an all-encompassing badass when you didn't earn it? You didn't really have to do anything. You just got there. There was no journey to get there. There was no trial. There was no earning it. You just instantly had it. You had it handed to you on a silver platter.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that they focus solely on her being so perfect and almost indestructible, unfortunately, when she should have tons of flaws, I mean, and only until they retconned her as a Palpatine, even that was weak, that they explain her power,
Yeah, and they don't even do that right. I don't even think they do that right in the movie. It's a confusing, jumbled mess. And that was another thing we were talking about before we opened this morning, folks. They picked and chose little things from the EU, from the stories that people wrote, and I honestly believe it's just so they didn't have to credit anybody. They didn't have to credit anybody with an idea. They didn't have to pay writers from the EU. They didn't have to do any of that. All they had to do was pick and choose, cherry pick ideas that they thought were great, and then expand on them. You hear Kathleen Kennedy talk about the fact that there was no big plan. There was no stacks of books to pull from, but that's what they did. That's what they did throughout the whole trilogy, was they cherry picked ideas from the EU.
Right. And not having more Jedi in the sequel trilogy was a huge mistake. I know that they kind of showed it with Luke's academy being burnt down, but still, her being the only Jedi is totally ridiculous, or force sensitive, I guess, enough to be one.
Yeah, and I, not to go off on a rant here, because but You've got the kids at the end of The Last Jedi. You've got those kids that they left on that damn planet. They left those kids on the planet. They were more worried about the cattle than they were about the enslaved children. And those kids had force powers. That one kid's like, he pulls the broom to him and he's like got it sweeping using the force. And they just don't do anything with it. They completely leave you with this like thing at the end of that movie, and they don't do shit with it.
Yeah. Yeah, they completely forget stuff that they I mean, yeah. I mean, if you ever have episode 9 is a huge retcon of Last Jedi, really.
Yeah, and you've got that guy on the story group. Guys, this is someone who is involved deeply with Lucasfilms. He is a part of the Star Wars story group. These are the people that make all the yay, nay decisions on what can and can't be canon. And the guy didn't even know Rey was a Palpatine. He was like, no, show me where that's written. Show me. And they show him and he's like, oh. And then he comes back like a week later. Yeah, nobody let me know that, oh my, really? Really? That's like their biggest surprise at a JJ's surprise box. His mystery box opens and the Jack in the Box comes out and Rey's a Palpatine. And someone in the story group that makes these decisions had no idea what was going on.
Right.
Absolutely no idea.
Yeah, and Luke should have had kids too. I'm sorry. That was a huge mistake just to have it be just Leia and Han as the only one who had one kid instead of two, instead of Jason and Jaina solo and Anakin solo later on. It was just Ben. Instead of Ben Skywalker in the EU, which is more appropriate for Luke to name his son Ben than it is Han and Leia. I'm sorry, So, yeah, again, they cherry picked what kind of was in the EU, but they cherry picked it the wrong way. They left it a jumbled freaking mess,
Yeah, and Jeff Franklin, honestly, brother, we don't know. You say the problem was they didn't come up with a storyline for all 3 sequel films at the beginning. But then they come out and they say, we always knew Rey was a Palpatine from the very beginning. You've got J.J. Abrams saying, oh, no, this was all put in at the last minute. Then you've got Kathleen Kennedy saying, we knew from the beginning that she was a Palpatine. So they've lied to us so many times, we don't know the truth. They've lied about the story. They've lied about where they got the ideas from the story. They lied about not having any ideas because there were no books. There's a shitload of books. Well, there's no books. There's no games. There's no comics to pull from. They pulled from all of it. They cherry-picked their ideas from all of it and then told us that they didn't have anything to go on, and that's why it's so disjointed, which is all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's run by committee.
Right. The only character that got even semi-right was in the Star Wars Rebels show of Thrawn.
Yeah.
Inclusion. That's the only character that they even got semi-right, was putting Thrawn into Star Wars Rebels. Every other thing that they've picked from the EU has been a freaking disaster.
Yeah, everybody. And I completely agree with you with Thrawn. Timothy Zahn, to me, wrote the most epic ballads for Star Wars. He created Mara Jade. When you see that Lucas video where he's like, I didn't create Mara Jade. Mara Jade's not my character. Well, guess what? It's Timothy Zahn. Timothy Zahn created Thrawn. He created Mara Jade. There was a big underground crime boss in that too, that was Mara Jade's boss in that first Thrawn trilogy. And I cannot remember his name right now, but he was a big character. He was a big player for years in the Star Wars books in the EU. And he created these great, great characters, Timothy Zahn. and to see Thrawn reintroduced into canon. Talon Card, thank you, Mark the Infinitely Tired. Talon Card, yes, the wild card. That was the name of his ship, was the wild card.
Yeah. And yeah, I like Mara Jade's backstory of being an emperor's hand and then, falling for Luke Skywalker way, way better than the kind of jumble mess which is we got with Rey. Is she with Finn? Is she with Poe? Is she with nobody? They could not decide who to stick her with, and they didn't stick her with anybody, luckily. But but yeah, Mara Jade's character of being the Emperor's hand and eventually marrying Luke Skywalker is a perfect way to tell, how it should have been told for the sequel trilogy for the continuation,
Yeah. And that guy says Luke's Jedi Academy was my favorite thing from the EU. Dude, I love the Jedi Academy trilogy, dude. I love with Admiral Dala. Oh, dude, epic when they go into the black hole cluster, the Maw, dude, and they find the skeletal structure of a Death Star in there. Absolutely epic. Had dozens of graduates, but in the movie, it seems like only Ben's Jedi class exists. Dude, they completely screwed all of that up. And we brought up the fact that there's only one kid in the Skywalker family. They had to do that because if they had any other kid, it would have taken away from Rey. It's like everything they did to make sure nothing took away from Rey.
Yeah, they should have never had Rey in it. They should have just strictly stuck with the Leia's kids, and they should have had more, and Luke's kids, and he should have had some kids. To throw in a mysterious character into the sequel trilogy, who was, again, so much of a Mary Sue and so perfect, was the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, and Jeff Reed says, I got 2 bookshelves of EU to call bullshit on KK. As do I, Jess. I have got every book from the Thrawn trilogy. I may even have one before that. I know I had the Courtship of Princess Leia, and that I had in the library edition with the laminate cover. But dude, it got molded and turned black, and I had to chunk it. And I've got everything from there up until the Return of the Sith. Not the Revenge of the Sith, but the Return of the Sith after the Yuzong Vong War and after Jason goes all crazy. So
right. Yeah, it would have been way more compelling and way better if they had just stuck with the kids from Luke and from Han and Leia. I mean, why do you got to put in a different character to be the main antagonist or protagonist, whatever, and then another who's completely having Ben being the bad guy, and then of course the lady has to be the good girl, was again the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, it was absolutely the wrong way to do it. And Josh and Rebecca Momini bring up the fact I would love to have seen a Kyle Katarn trilogy. Dude, you saw the first part of one when you saw Rogue One, because that was essentially they had Jan Urso is Jyn Orris. Jyn Urso is Jan Orris. Okay, Jan Orris was Kyle Katarn's pilot in the first Dark Forces game. That's the first time you ever meet Kyle Katarn, is in the original Dark Forces game. Before Jedi Academy and all that, there was Dark Forces. And Jan Orris was his pilot. They turned Jan Orris into Jyn Urso, and they gave her his spot. So they just took that character and gender flopped Kyle and gave her his spot in Rogue One, because Kyle steals the original Death Star plans in that very first game. So that's all they
Yeah.
did in Rogue One, and they changed up the story because she was supposed to survive and be in later movies, and they decided not to do that.
Right. And Rogue One is the right way to do a female character in Star Wars. You know?
Yeah, because she's got flaws. Every human being has flaws.
Right.
We all have flaws. We all make mistakes. Jin in Rogue One made mistakes. There's things she didn't do right. There's things that her father doesn't do. There's things that everyone in that movie doesn't do right. They all make mistakes. We are exactly like that. And when you start to make, well, this person can't make mistakes because we can't have them look bad, that's when we mentally tune out and say, you know what, this is bullshit.
Yep. Agree,
I don't know if you
agree
saw the Matrix movies. That's something they talk about in the Matrix. Like they made that first Matrix flawless. Everything was perfect. Everyone was perfect. Everything was perfect. Nobody wanted for anything. And Agent Smith says it. Entire crops were lost. We're talking about human lives. And why? Because the human mind rejected it.
Yeah.
The human mind rejected the simulation it was in and said, nope, because everything was perfect. There was no struggle. There was no, a marathon run, heaving and wheezing to get to that last point. When you do a run like that and you do it perfectly and you're not sweating, it doesn't bother you. What's the point?
Right. And having the Neo character eventually become basically Jesus was dumb beyond belief too.
Yeah, I try not to even count the sequels. Because but even though that is in the sequels, I absolutely loved that idea of, they made a flawless, perfect civilization, and the human mind checked out and was like, nope, ain't happening.
Yeah.
Ain't happening.
Yeah. We even today we would never accept that. We're like, man, this is too perfect. I can't stand it being perfect. You gotta have mistakes made to learn from your mistakes. You gotta have bad things unfortunately happen to realize that we only have a limited time here. So yeah, there's always good and bad, and Hollywood's way of sterilizing it basically to make everything perfect is, and you got to have your super character that has no flaws and your super character that has no emotions, basically being the savior of everything. Yeah, it's very unrealistic.
And it used to not be that way. It used to not be that way. And is that the problem? Are they afraid to put pressure on someone so that they do well? Is that what they're afraid of? Is it like, oh, we'll look bad if we make her earn it, so let's just give it to her? Or are they just lazy?
Probably both, to tell you the truth. Because I remember even the first Superman movie, which I thought was awesome, compared to all the sequels and stuff. You had Superman struggling with do I save Lois or do I save the world kind of thing,
Yeah. Are you talking about that first one with Christopher Reeves?
Yes,
dude,
Reeves,
yes.
Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor.
Yes, the greatest criminal mind of our time.
Yeah, I mean that was perfect. That was a perfect Superman movie.
When he pulls the hair off, dude, and he's bald, man, that is the best, the greatest Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mind of our time.
Yes.
Oh man,
yeah.
Dude, and Christopher Reeves is Superman.
Yes,
that's my childhood hero. That was my childhood hero.
Yes, and that's the perfect way to do Superman, the original Superman movie. where you have Superman flawed, you have him, kind of timid in a way with how him and Lois meet, because they're both kind of feeling each other out. He's like, do I want to pursue this relationship with Lois, or do I want to stay like a platonic type of relationship and keep my identity secret? And it's the perfect. It's a very good way to tell a comic type of movie, the original Superman. And who would not be like Otis and want their own Otisburg, right?
Otisburg, right? Well, and also you've got something of a growing of age because Jor-El tells Kal-El, Superman, for anybody that doesn't know that Superman is Kal-El, his father tells him, you are not to alter human history. These are the rules. These are the rules you must follow because you are going to be a god among men. You have the powers of a god, and they will look at you like this. These are the rules you have to follow. And it comes to the point of, do I break this rule that my father has imposed on me, or do I let Lois die? And he's like, screw it, I'm breaking the rules. And I understand the whole spinning the earth backwards on its axis would never work. It would never turn back time. But we'll just forget about that part and just say that he's going back in time. So he goes so fast that he goes back in time. And as he's flying up to do that, Jor-El almost challenges him. The thunder and the lightning come down, and he's like, you are not to alter human history. And Kal-El's like, screw it, I'm doing it anyway. Boom, and goes and does it. So it's almost like I'm old enough to make my own decisions. You are not going to make them for me. You may say these are the rules, but to hell with it. I've got the power to change it. I'm going to change it.
Yes.
And he does. And that they knew how to do a story then. And I know a lot of people say they're lazy or they don't want to put in the work, but honestly, guys, it can't be like this at every studio. And there's a reason why it is, because I guarantee you there is someone in the studio that could challenge this shit. There is someone there that does the checks and balances that goes, no, you guys can't do this. This is stupid. And they aren't doing that. Whether they're scared of doing that, whether it's one big club and they're all patting each other on the back, sniffing each other's farts, something has gone off the rails in Hollywood, and the people that do the checks and balances are not doing the checks and balances. And we're getting shit.
Yeah. And unfortunately to them, it's all about the bottom line. How much money can they make, versus is it a good story,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And Robert Pearson brings up a very good point. Jonathan's own words, you are here for a reason.
Yes.
And that reason was not football.
Yeah, not to kick a football thousands of miles.
Yeah.
Like he does in the movie.
Yes, Kathy, and that's why I said it was a coming of age moment, because he lost his dad, and that challenge that he was to experience, challenging authority, was never there. It was never there until that moment. His dad, when his dad told him, you were here for a reason, and that reason is not to kick a football thousands of miles. He didn't challenge him. He just said, you know what, you're right. And when he went to the fortress for the first time and he learned from Jor-El, you're right, and these are the rules, and these are the rules I have to follow. So when that happened, that was his moment of challenging authority and doing exactly what you're saying right now. He had to challenge his father. A father's job is to impose his will. This is how you need to grow. This is what you need to do. This is what you're going to learn. This is how we do things. And at some point, a young man will challenge that will. And that's when he starts to grow up and become his own person. He didn't have that because his real father died. His adopted father died before he came to that point. So Jarrell was there saying, this is what you're not supposed to do. And he did it anyway.
Right. But I mean, Lex's plan in that movie was perfect. You launch not one, but two missiles. You cannot be in two places at once. So that was a perfect plan, because he has to decide, okay, who lives and again, who dies, Yeah. So, I mean, to me, that first Superman movie, is a perfect way to start a comic book movie,
Yeah. Yeah. Especially the opening of that movie.
Oh yeah. The opening of him being, of the life of his parents on Krypton, and then
Marlon Brando,
Yeah.
and the fact that Marlon Brando knew nothing about Jarrell and was like, "This is the stupidest thing ever." But dude, I watched that in awe. And at the beginning, when they're doing the trial, I even had it made. I had this made in the late 90s because I could not find one. It was a black shirt with the silver shield. And I called it the Superman judge shirt, because Jarrell was like a judge in that first movie, laying down the sentence upon Zod. And he wore the black. He wore the black with the silver shield. And I could never find that shirt ever. So I had it made. I had this seamstress make it. And it was the very first Superman shirt I ever owned. Eventually, you got it because they did the death of Superman and he comes back in the black and with the silver shield. But I always loved that opening where he's trying Zod and Zod's little gang. And guilty. Guilty. Oh, guilty. Yeah, Robert Pearson. Robert Pearson was right there with me. Guilty. Oh, man.
And then, Zod. Of course, now Superman 2 with the Kneel Before Zod is also a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I like Superman 2 as well.
Terrence Stamp is Zod. Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's to me the best Zod that I've ever seen was Terrence Stamp's version.
You know what? I saw a tweet the other day someone threw out that, and it had a picture of Zod and Ursa, and I can't remember the other guy's name. And it was, if you've seen this, if you know what this movie is, you're a boomer. And I was like, well, shit, I guess I'm a boomer because I know exactly what that movie is. Now, I don't care. I do not care. Call me a boomer all you want to, just because I know that movie. That's a badass movie. Kneel before Zod.
Yes, and even though I did like the Krypton series that was on the Sci-Fi Network with the black actor playing Zod instead, I forget what his name was, but to me, Terrence Stamp's version in Superman 2, just cannot be and the way that Superman tricks them into them losing their powers instead of he losing his powers is obviously the right way to write a scene again, in a movie.
Colin Salmon is the guy who plays General Zod. He was also in the Arrow. So he's been in DC. He's been in DC series before. I had no idea that he was playing Zod.
Yeah, I don't know did you ever watch the Krypton series on Sci-Fi or no?
No, I did not. When I was 2, I was running around the house with a cape saying Superman. I've loved Superman all of my life. He's been my favorite comic book character. I had heard that it completely destroys the mythos behind Krypton, and I didn't want to take the chance of it ruining it for me.
Yeah.
And I hate to do that because, dude, I was a huge Smallville fan. I love Smallville.
Oh, yeah,
Terrence
Smallville.
Stamp did the voice for Jor-El, and I was like,
Right,
oh man, that's Terrence Stamp. That's the guy who played Zod.
Right, and that's with that was with Terry Hatcher, right?
Yeah.
As Lois.
No. That was Lois and Clark.
Oh, Lois and Clark. Okay, that's what I'm thinking. That I liked as well. The Lois
Yeah.
and Clark.
Yes, and I'm trying to remember what. Hold on, I'm trying the movie, the 1984 film. Pulling up the cast of the 1984. Okay, Helen Slater plays Kara Zor-El in the original Supergirl movie.
Right.
She plays Laura L. She plays Clark's real biological mother in Smallville as well. And I love that they did little things like that. I absolutely love that they did little things like that, like bring in Terrence Stamp for the voice of Jor-El and have Helen Slater play his mother, Laura. Man, I haven't talked Superman forever.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it was Tom Welling was Superman.
Yeah, Tom Welling was Clark Kent. Yeah.
Okay.
And Michael Rosenbaum played Lex Luthor, and to this day, he is probably right up there for me anyway for a young Lex because you care about him as you watch the show. You really care about Lex, and him and Clark are friends, and it makes you wonder, well, how's this all going to work at the end? But they tie everything up really, really nice. He's right up there with Gene Hackman to me. He plays a great Lex. And when he goes evil, he goes off the rails evil. And it's almost like watching a young Gene Hackman play Lex Luthor. It's really, really good. Really, really good. So, guys, you have been with us for almost an hour now. Oh, we have talked series, we have talked movies, we have talked awesome female characters. I have got a giant screen to my right of chat, a wall of chat that you guys have put out this morning. And it is Friday. This is the end of the week. I want to thank Number One Sci-Fi. Thank you so much for being here today, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime, man. Well, that I'm off for work anyway.
Yeah. And I've had such a great time talking Superman. That was not planned. We did not plan that. That just came up.
But I'm glad we got into Superman because, I mean, there is many classic Superman movies and series like Smallville and Lois and Clark and stuff. Yeah, and I'm glad that we at least got a little bit into it.
Yeah. Dude, we're gonna have to do a panel. If I do a Superman panel, you got to come back for it, Sci-Fi. You got to come back. If we do a Superman panel, I got to bring it back. Something I will try and plan. Maybe next week, maybe the week after. But I would love to do a Superman panel.
Oh yeah, and just have it be about Superman. About the original ones with Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
Even though number 3 was dumb and 4 was dumb.
Oh.
Probably just stick to number 1 and number 2, obviously. And then Smallville and the Lois and Clark series, those were all great,
Axonar, brother, you have got an open invite if we do a Superman panel, dude. You have got an open invite if you want to be on a Superman panel. So thank you again, Number One Sci-Fi, for being here. Thank you, chat. Thank you, RR, Broken Entertainment, Mark the Infinitely Tired, Robert Pearson, Josh and Rebecca Momini, Axonar Comics. Thank you for being here this morning, Trey. Broken Entertainment, Adiga Outlaw, one of my guardians, guys. Thank you so much, Adiga, for being here.
That's right. How can we leave out you remember the original black and white Superman, right?
Yeah.
With what was his name in that?
Oh man!
Oh my God, that's going way back now.
I'm looking. I am looking. Don't go yet, guys. We've got just. Oh man!
Because that was a great
George Reeves.
Yeah, George Reeves. Yeah, his name's similar to Christopher Reeve. That's right. But yeah, that was also a great series back in the day.
Yeah, and he got shot. The official finding was a suicide, but a lot of people believe that it was a murder. That the police completely whiffed over evidence at the scene, and there's plenty of evidence that people have gone over and go over and over and say that there's no way he could have done it. No way he could have killed himself. That it was a murder. So, guys, if you want a really interesting story, hop on Wikipedia, look at his death, and read, because that is a very interesting story. And he played a great Superman. He played an absolutely wonderful Superman. George Reeves, guys. So again, I want to thank everybody. Thank my guardians for being here. Thank the chat. Guys, you have been great. This chat has been kicking ass all morning. It has been running nonstop, guys. Thank you so very much, everybody that has been here. I will be back on today doing gameplay from Final Fantasy VII Remake. I hope you guys can make it. I'm gonna try and plan it for a little afternoon. I might be a little early. I might be a little late. I don't know, but guaranteed I'm gonna play this afternoon, and I'm gonna be on tonight. So again, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, number one sci-fi. And we will catch you guys the next morning. And Mischief will be on Monday, but I will be broadcasting over the weekend. So everybody take care and have a great weekend.